All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We've got a little bit of introduction, so if there are folks that filter in, we shouldn't have too much missing. All right, so hello, my name is Charlotte. I work for Oregon Citizens Utility Board, and very excited to be here for this virtual Fix-It Fair workshop. Thanks to Wing and to the Fix-It Fair and to the City of Portland for hosting this. We're really thrilled to be here. So this workshop is called Knowledge is Power, Understanding Your Utility Bills. So we'll be going through just the utilities that service Multnomah County. So that's Pacific Power, PGE, and Northwest Natural. Just going to go through and break down what a bill looks like and kind of explain some of the major charges so that you have more information and can really understand what you're paying for. Like I said, I work for the Oregon Citizens Utility Board, or CUB, as we're often called. We're an independent statewide nonprofit that advocates for residential utility customers. So this is anyone who lives in a home and has a utility bill. We are out there advocating for you. For almost 40 years, we've worked to make sure that Oregon utilities are affordable, accessible, reliable, and clean. So we'll just dive right into it here. We've got about 45 minutes, I believe. So we're going to really, like I said, just go through each of these bills and break down what's going on. If you are watching this and you're outside of Multnomah County, your bills might look a little bit different, but it'll still have a lot of the same language from the bills that we'll discuss today. So hopefully it should still get you a little bit more information. To kind of ground this conversation, I also like to just zoom out a little bit and talk about where our energy is coming from. So here in Oregon, we have a lot of good, clean, renewable energy from hydrogen, a little bit from wind and from solar, but also we do still have quite a bit of fossil fuels. So being aware of your energy use and reducing it where possible is actually a really great way to reduce climate pollution. So when we're thinking about our utility bills, usually we're thinking about saving money, but we can also think about saving pollution as well. In this, you can also, we'll talk a little bit about this later, but you can opt in through your utility to support adding even more renewables to your energy as well. So each different utility has a different program that helps fund new renewable energy programs. These are all optional. They are a small added cost to your bill. So this might be something that you see show up on your bill if you have opted into this. Another great program is the Oregon Community Solar Program. This is open to any PGE or Pacific Power customer. It funds local solar projects and allows you to earn a credit on your bill. And there's also low-cost options available for low-income households. If you're interested in learning more about this, I believe that Community Energy Project is also hosting a workshop at the Fix-It Fair in North Portland on Saturday. So that'd be a great opportunity to learn more. So there are a couple of different bill payment options. Standard billing is available for all utilities. It's the default when you sign up for your utility service. You get a different amount each month that's based on your energy usage. The pros is that you only pay for what you use that month, but the cons are that it's kind of hard to predict how much that's going to be. So in the winter, you're probably going to have a much higher bill than in the summer, the spring, or the fall, where you're not using heating. So it can make it a lot harder to budget. All of the utilities we'll talk about today also have an option for equal pay. So this is where you take this, you pay the same amount each month. It makes it really easy to budget. And it just takes the last 12 months, the last year, and divides that into 12 even amounts so that you can just pay for your whole year kind of in those chunks. These are adjusted after a certain amount of time. So each year, the utility will come in and just do an audit, see if you were using more than you did the previous year or less, and then adjust that annual division so that you have a new amount for the next year that you'll pay each month. Unfortunately, this isn't available for everyone. If you have an overdue account, most utilities will not let you opt into the system. If you're interested, you can oftentimes just do this change on your online account. If you aren't able to figure that out, or you have some questions about it, calling your utility service is going to be a really easy way to get that change or get some questions answered if you need it. And then for electric utilities, there's one more option. It's called time of use. It's a little bit different, and it's only available for electric utilities. So just like the standard billing, it's a different payment amount each month, but the energy is priced on when you use it. So it costs more when more people are using energy and less when less people are using it. So this would, the peak times are typically in the mornings, and then in the early evenings, like around dinner time when people are starting to cook and, get home from work, oftentimes. We don't typically recommend this for just a regular household, but it is really good for people who have electric vehicles who charge it overnight, or anyone who uses most of their energy late at night or on the weekends. But for everyone else, it's not really that helpful. All right, so we're going to dig into the actual charges on your utility bills. All of the bills that we're looking at right now are going to be standard billing. So if you have equal pay, it might look a little bit different, at least in like this month's bill section, but the rest of it should look pretty similar. We're going to start off with Pacific Power. Pacific Power serves some parts of Portland. So if you're in North Portland, downtown, or some parts of East Portland, you'll likely have Pacific Power. Their bills are pretty easy to read. So it's got a really good snapshot on the first page that just shows how much you owe, your payment history, and if anything is still owed from the last bill. Typically, this is just everything that everyone wants to see, how much am I paying, and then just pay the bill. If you want to get a little bit more detail, you can do that on some of the other parts of the bill. So you can compare and see how much energy you use this month versus over the last few months, and compare it to like the same time last year as well. This is really good for seeing, okay, wow, this bill felt really high. Was I using a lot more than I did last year? And kind of compare and contrast, and also compare and contrast based on the average daily temperature. Since most of our electricity bill, especially if you have electric heat, comes from space heating, you definitely will see a huge difference depending on temperature. Same with cooling. And that is, only if you have electric heat. You can also look at the amount of energy that you used this past month in this little section on your account activity. So your meter number is what is attaches your energy usage to your specific home. Everyone who has electric service that's billed directly to them is going to have a meter that you'll be able to walk outside and see these numbers on it if you're interested. Energy usage is measured in kilowatt hours. So that's anytime you see kWh, that's just going to be the unit of energy. Pacific Power reads your meter, typically remotely, but some people do have in person if they've opted into that. And they use that meter to see, okay, what was the previous month and that energy usage, and then the current month. So your amount of energy used this month is just the difference between the current and the previous. And that's going to be the basis for the majority of the charges that you see. There are some charges that are fixed, and you can see this in the more detailed section, that new charges section of your bill. The basic charge is the same amount each month. It covers administrative costs like customer service and billing, and then also some of the fixed costs like the cost of the actual meter itself and reading it. You might see it say single phase on your bill. That's just a description of how your home connects to the power grid. Most residential homes are going to be single phase. We also have the delivery charge. This is the cost of bringing energy from power plants to your area and then to your home. So building and maintaining that equipment that actually moves the electricity into your home. This amount is going to change based on how much energy you use that month. So you can see anywhere it has that units and the kWh, that kilowatt hours, that's going to be based on your usage itself. We also have the supply energy charge. This is the cost of Pacific Power's generating electricity, including gas plants and renewable investments. Again, this changes based on your energy use. This is broken down into 2 tiers of charging. So the first tier is a slightly lower rate, so slightly lower dollar amount per unit of energy. And that's going to be everything up to 1,000 kilowatt hours. If you go over that 1,000, you'll be bumped up to a slightly higher tier for anything over that 1,000. And it'll be charged at a slightly higher dollar amount. This is the difference between like pennies. So it's not a huge amount. But that's what you'll see if you have a second line item under supply energy charge, block 2. That just means that's billing slightly more for anything over 1,000 kilowatt hours. A typical home uses right around that mark. So a typical Pacific Power home is going to use 948 kilowatt hours per month. So it is pretty likely that you'll see that that bump up to block 2 at some point. Anything labeled adjustments or ADJ are their own category. So what's included in these adjustment charges changes each year and are a mix of fixed and variable costs. So it might be based on your energy use, it might not. Adjustments is a fancy regulatory word, and it really just includes a bunch of different things. So cost for things like renewable energy investments, energy efficiency investments, natural disaster expenses like wildfires or big freezes, and just a lot of other kind of miscellaneous stuff. And then the last 4 items on the charges for the Pacific Power bill are all kind of a grab bag of charges that are required by law. So the public purpose charge, this is 1.5% of your energy charge, and that's required by the state. These dollars go to are dedicated to energy efficiency investments, weatherization projects for households with low incomes, support for targeted renewable energy investments, and school energy improvements. Low income assistance, that's actually gone up in the last couple of months. I think it's like $1.05. We'll see that on the PGE bill as well. And that is also required by the state. These funds go to bill payment assistance programs that help households with low incomes who are struggling to pay their energy bills. It's a really great program there. The energy conservation charge is again required by the state and funds energy conservation measures like energy efficiency or other cost-effective tools to reduce energy use. And finally, the BPA Columbia River benefits. The Bonneville Power Administration, or BPA, credit is applied to qualifying customers for all usage below 1,000 kilowatt hours each month to help with the cost of investing in hydroelectric resources. All right, so pretty easy. Pacific Power is a 1-page bill, so it's usually pretty easy to just kind of glance at that, see what's going on, and really look through all of your charges pretty quickly. Next, we're going to move to PGE. So PGE is a little bit longer of a bill. The first page is just a snapshot. So the whole page is just dedicated to what most people care about, and showing you like what is on your monthly bill and what you owe this month. Just like Pacific Power, you can compare your energy use across the month. This bill, it's actually my bill, is an example of how using that comparison can really show you the difference between how you're using energy each month. So you can see from November to December, my energy bill went way up. And it was actually quite a bit higher than this month last year. And is also, so looking at this, I was able to say, I've been doing something a little bit different. I should probably adjust my usage so it's not quite as high this month. And is the reason why I had to talk to my partner about not opening a window and instead just turning the thermostat down a little bit. So we were able to come to a good consensus there, and our next bill should be a little bit lower. The second page is where you're going to get probably more details than you want. Just like with the Pacific Power bill, we've got a meter. We can see what the current read was, what the previous read was, and then that total energy used for that service period. So again, PGE is going to read that meter remotely, or if you've opted into an in-person reading in person, and that's what they're going to use for the rest of the billing. So again, your meter, just like with Pacific Power homes, is going to be on the outside of your home. So you can go out, poke around, and see that and just like look at what they're reading and just confirm that that's correct. It should be correct. Again, on page 2, just below this meter, the account information is going to be your account charges. So right at the top, you'll see that there's, just your any balance you have forward, maybe you overpaid, maybe you weren't able to pay your entire bill the past amount. So you can just look at that and see anything else that's going to be added on top of the energy charges and other charges for this month. So just like with Pacific Power, we've got a mix of those fixed costs, things that are going to be the same each month, and the variable charges, so things that are going to be based on your energy usage. There's going to be 4 sections in the account charges for PGE. The first one is energy charges. So we've got the basic charge, that's the same amount each month, and goes towards similar things, covers administrative costs like customer service and billing, cost of the meter itself, all that good stuff. This is currently $8 for residential customers. For the energy charge, this is the cost of PGE generating electricity, just like with Pacific Power. And this, again, changes based on the amount of energy you're using. Just like Pacific Power, we also have that 2 tiers. The first tier is anything under 1,000 kilowatt hours. The second tier is anything over. And as you can see here, it's like quite literally a cent difference. So it's not going to be, you're not going to break the bank, hopefully, if you go a little bit over 1,000. You can see that I went over on this bill and it was about $3 with that higher rate. So just because you're going over that 1,000 kilowatt hour amount doesn't mean that it's a big scary number that you're going to be seeing. A typical PGE household uses about 800 kilowatts per month, so a little bit lower than Pacific Power. So it's a little bit less likely that you're going to go over, but if you have electric heat and it's really cold, then there's a chance that you'll go over. The next 2 charges are also based on how much energy you're using. So this is the transmission charge, the cost of bringing the energy from the power plants to your area, and the distribution charge. So once it gets to your area, the distribution is the cost of bringing that energy to your specific neighborhood from the larger grid. So it's building and maintaining power lines, transformers, other equipment. In Pacific Power's bill, we have these 2 combined. So that's why the difference is a little bit different there. And then the last thing in the energy charges section is any sort of renewable energy program that you may have opted into. We talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but you can see here on my bill, that the amount that is going towards that green future, that renewable energy program, is relatively small. I believe it's about 6.5% of your bill. So it's less than $10 for me. The next big bucket of things is the regulatory charges and credits. We're not going to go line by line through all of this, partially because what we would go through today would change in the matter of about a year. Anything labeled in the regulatory charges and credits is evaluated each year. So it changes every year. So what we saw in September might not be the exact same as what's listed on this. Also note that in the screenshot, it's only on page 2. This can spill over into page 3 as well, so you might not see all of it. Overall, this is going to be the smallest amount of your bill. In this $158 bill, this is only $2.90. So it's not imperative that you understand every single detail. But if you are interested in learning more about what these specific charges are, you absolutely can call PGE customer service. They might be a little bit confused at first. I have tried doing this to make sure they could help. And they might just have to bring somebody else in, but they will eventually be able to help you out if you're really curious. These charges include costs like new renewable power plants, energy efficiency investments, and natural disaster expenses, again, like wildfires or a big ice storm, something like that. And then finally, we've got page 3. It should just be a 3-page bill. And then the last section of charges is going to be the taxes and fees. These are charges that are mandated by state and local governments. So we've got our city and county taxes. If you are within the Portland city limits, that's going to be both your Portland tax and Multnomah County tax. We've also got the low income assistance. Looks like I was a penny off when we we're talking about Pacific Power. So it's now $1.04 for low income assistance. And that'll be the same for this year's Pacific Power bills as well. And then the public purpose charge, again, that's for weatherization, renewables, and school energy efficiency programs. And then in this bill, there's a section that you may or may not see. You can see that this is a different bill from last year, that I actually had these additional charges and credits. I didn't have that this month, so it didn't make it into the slideshow. But these can be things like peak time rebates, which we'll talk about in a moment, or if you have, if you're opted into the community solar program, you also might see the credits on here. So these are all optional programs that you opt into and get those credits. So you can see I got just a couple of cents, almost a whole dollar in last September from these rebates. But you might be wondering, how did you get that almost $1? So peak time rebates is an optional program that can help you save money on your bills. It might not be a ton each month, but it can add up, a reasonable amount over the year. Basically, the rules of the game are you lower your energy use during peak event times when PGE is expecting you to have a large amount of energy use, or like the whole city is going to have a large amount of energy use. And if you lower your energy use in your home, you can earn credits on your bill. So it's totally free for any PGE customer. There's usually between 10 and 20 events per year. They've been ramping it up more, so I would expect to see more in the future. And really small changes in your usage adds up. So I think last year I saved probably about $10 on my bill. But one of my coworkers saved, I think, probably about $30 to $40 over the course of the year. So it definitely adds up. And it's kind of a fun game to play. We always have competitions in our office to see who saved more during a peak time rebate event. All right, so now that we've gone through the 2 electric utilities, we're going to move to Northwest Natural. Northwest Natural is the only gas provider for the Portland area. So if you use gas, you've got Northwest Natural. Similar to Pacific Power, we've got just kind of a quick reference information that's going to be up in the corner of your bill. So you can see really quickly when was the bill sent, when is the bill due, and how much are you expected to pay. A lot of this, this is going to be pretty similar to electric, but we're going to be talking about things in a slightly different unit of energy. So you can see how much your home is using during that billing period, but instead of kilowatt hours or kWh, it's all going to be measured in therms. It's different, mostly because we're not measuring electrons, we're measuring heat energy. So it's going to be a different amount. Anywhere you see therm is going to be the amount of energy you use in your bill. A typical home for Northwest Natural customers uses about 53 therms per month, just to give you a sense of what that is. This bill also provides a very quick snapshot so you can look month over month. Again, compare your usage. You can see more information about your detailed day-to-day energy use by signing into your online account. That is also true for both of the electric utilities as well. For the most part, Northwest Natural and gas in general is going to trend a lot higher in the winter as you're turning on your gas furnace. Most gas customers also have a gas furnace. So you'll see much higher bills in the winter and then pretty low, if any, bills in the summer. Your account summary is going to, again, let you know how much you're paying and then if you have any balance from the previous month. So if you are a little bit behind on your bill, you'll have that carrying over amount shown up here. So the previous balance is how much you were charged in the previous bill, so it'd be 2 months ago. The payments received is how much you paid on your last bill, and then that new balance is the total amount for this year, or for this month. Anything that has CR is a credit. You might see that from overpaying a previous bill, or maybe just having some sort of adjustment. Once a year, all Northwest Natural customers receive a credit during the winter for a program called optimization. It's more complicated of a program than we need to go into today, but just know that every once in a while you might see just a random credit pop up, and that's where that's from. So the first two in your current charges line items are charges related to the service that Northwest Natural provided you last month. So that monthly service charge rate 02R, that is the equivalent of just that basic amount, that fixed number that we saw in the Pacific Power and PGE bills. So for most households, it's going to be just $8 flat. That stays the same. The O2R, that is just the way that their billing service recognizes that you're paying for a home. So the R is residential. Again, this covers costs like customer service, billing, cost of meter, all that good stuff. The next is your gas usage. This charge covers the cost of the gas as well as Northwest Natural's cost of delivering it to you. So the charge is the amount of gas you used in therms multiplied by the billing rate. That billing rate has two different parts. One is the cost of gas that changes every year on November 1st. And the other part is the cost of the gas delivery system. So that's, all of the things that are going into getting that gas into your home. That's only updated every few years. We did see in the past 18 months that this has gone up quite a bit. So I'm guessing if you're a gas customer, you've probably seen that rate go up. And yeah, so you just to expect November 1st, that's going to change again. Sometimes it goes down, but unfortunately we're trending it to see it go up right now as gas prices are just skyrocketing across the world. The next two charges are ones that are required by law. We've got your city tax. Local governments charge an additional fee. So in this example, this is from my coworker's home in Beaverton. So we've got that 2% Beaverton franchise fee. It's going to depend on where you live. So If you live in Portland, you're gonna have a Portland charge. If you live in Gresham, same thing. Just like with the electrics, we've also got a public purpose charge. This is, again, that same amount that we saw on the electric bills. These dollars are, again, dedicated to energy efficiency, residential low-income energy efficiency, as well as bill payment assistance programs. As I mentioned, we've got a pretty big difference between the seasons in our energies. This is true for gas, and it's also true for electric. So that blue graph you see on the left, that's I believe that's actually my home's energy use for my PGE bill. And then you're really going to see those peaks in December, January, especially if you have an electric heating system. For gas, it's mostly winter usage, as I mentioned, with pretty much low or no usage in the summer. So this information is really helpful in thinking about ways that you can reduce your energy bill and save on your on energy as well. We use most of our energy for heating, cooling, and water heating. And there are a lot of other places to save energy, but these are the three we're going to focus on real quick and just some options for reducing your energy bill. If you want a much more in-depth picture in this, I highly recommend Community Energy Project's DIY Weatherization Workshop, which is also going to be offered at the Fix-It Fair. And I'm not sure if it's going to be an online option as well, but I can ask Wing to confirm that once we wrap up. So heating and cooling have the same basic principles for lowering energy use. One is change your thermostat. So I recommend 68 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, and then lowering that about 10 degrees at night. You can adjust that based on your comfort level. If you like it a little bit warmer, or maybe you run warm and you want it a little cooler, you can play it by ear by a few degrees. Second is weatherizing your home so that the heat stays in during the winter and stays out during the summer. And then finally, upgrading to a smart thermostat can be a really easy way to just automate this. I know I'm a really forgetful person, so having the ability to schedule, okay, in the weekdays, if I'm going to be, sitting at home in my office, I don't need to be heating my whole home. I can just like put on a little sweater. Changing it if I'm going out in the evening, and adjusting it automatically. If you work outside the home, you can reduce that use automatically when you leave for work and have it turn back up maybe an hour before you get home. Smart thermostats are really great, and there's a lot of programs to help make it really easy to get that at a pretty low cost. And then the last thing that is a little bit more of a financial commitment, at least for now, is upgrading to a heat pump. So an electric heat pump is a really, really high efficient way to heat and cool your home. It's a huge energy savings, especially if you have electric heat. If you're a gas customer, it's also a really great way to reduce the amount of fossil fuels used in your home by switching to a heat pump. For the last few years, it could be quite expensive to have these upgrades, but thankfully we've got some really awesome new programs coming up from the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed by the federal government last year. That's going to provide just millions of dollars into getting people heat pumps for very little or no cost. So if you are interested, I would definitely recommend checking out the Energy Trust of Oregon's website and seeing if there's some options that work for you and your family. And there are also options specifically meant for lower income families, so you can see if you qualify for an even greater incentive on that. Water heating is also a big energy use. You can lower your water heater thermostat to 115 degrees and insulate your pipes to save energy. This will require a little bit more instruction for an electric water heater, but you can very easily find a tutorial online or go to the DIY Weatherization Workshop. hosted by Community Energy Project. For a gas water heater, it's really easy. There's just a dial on the front and you can set it. Similar to electric, or similar to the space heating, there are also options for an electric heat pump water heater. These are really, really efficient, especially if you're switching away from an electric water heater. This is really going to slash your bills. And again, for gas, it's a great way to probably reduce your bills as gas continues to rise in cost, but also reduce the amount of fossil fuels that you use in your home. If you want even more ways to reduce your energy use, there are three really great other partners that I would recommend checking out. One is Multnomah County Weatherization. They do income qualifying programs for actually going into your home and doing that weatherization and doing those energy efficiency upgrades. Community Energy Project, who I've plugged a few times already, is a really good resource for that DIY education. So doing it for yourself at a low, really low cost, and they also provide the materials for income qualifying homes. But they also have in-home programs where they can come in, do those energy efficiency upgrades, do those like kind of smaller things to help really insulate your home and make sure things are tight and you're not letting that hot air out in the winter and keeping it nice and cool in the summer. And they also have started to do even bigger projects for select areas to just do like really, really deep energy efficiency upgrades for income qualifying families. So definitely check them out. And then for getting upgrades on your home, Energy Trust for Oregon is going to be your #1 resource. They offer rebates and incentives on upgrades that reduce your energy use. And they specifically have discounts for lower income families so that you can get even bigger discounts and rebates on making those upgrades. So it's a little less cost prohibitive. And before I leave you, I know that working with your utility is not always the most pleasant thing. It's can often be a stressful issue, especially if you're having trouble paying your bills or if you feel like you're being treated unfairly. We know that you don't have a choice for who your utility is, and that alone can be really frustrating. So if you are having an issue with your utility, there's a couple of steps that I recommend taking. Start by just calling your utility. Talk to customer service, but be nice to them. They're really trying their hardest. They're not trying to screw you over, I promise. And they're going to do the best they can to resolve the issue because at the end of the day, they want your money. So just kind of talking with them and seeing if you have any resolution to this issue, kind of understanding what's going on, what explanation they're giving. And if that's satisfying, then you can stop at step 1. If you're not feeling great about that conversation or you still have questions and you want a neutral third party to talk to, you can call me. So you're talking to Oregon Citizens Utility Board. We are here for customers. We're not here for the utilities. We really are here to make sure that regular, everyday Oregonians are not being taken advantage of and are paying reasonable amounts. So we are more than happy to offer advice, kind of help identify what the issue is, and then also really translate a lot of the more confusing utility terms into something that you can more easily understand. I know when I first started working with utility and energy issues, it was just so confusing because you have all of this jargon, transmission and distribution and like all of these different words that we don't use in our daily lives. So we're always happy to take that like confusing industry jargony words and put it into some plain language. If you're still not satisfied with what's going on with your utility, you can submit a complaint to the Public Utility Commission. They are the state regulator that oversees the 3 utilities that we have talked about today. They take customer complaints really seriously, but they are a big government body, so things might move a little bit slower than you'd like. So they, like I said, they will take things very seriously. If they get enough complaints from enough customers, they also do like take action and make sure that something more serious is being done. But just know that they will ask you what you've already done to try to work with the utility. So make sure that you've talked to your utility before you call to submit a complaint. And that information can be found on the Public Utility Commission website. And that is all I've got for you today. If you have any questions after this, or if you're watching for the recording later, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call, or go to our website to find some more information. All right, so we've got just a couple minutes left. Do we have any questions?
You can probably about to say the same thing. Pop questions in the chat, or I am going to just allow Shelby or one live participant to unmute if you want to. You should feel free to ask live questions.
Hi, I have a question about blue sky, choosing that. I thought I had done that, and I haven't checked my bill lately for that. But I assume that's not being, I wouldn't be using coal if I chose that. Is that right?
Not quite. So opting into those renewable energy programs like Blue Sky, or for PGE, I think it's called like Green Futures or something like that. I should know this. It's not my bill. Yeah, I think so. Opting into those only goes to fund developing new renewable energy programs. Yeah. So because we are on an electric grid, it's not just we can't control where the individual electrons come from. So we have electrons coming from our natural gas power plants, from our our solar farms, from our wind farms, and they're all mixing in with each other. So there's no way of sorting which ones come from fossil fuels and which ones come from, renewable resources. So those renewable energy programs are just encouraging developing new resources, not controlling what actually goes into your home.
Okay, I was sort of surprised that 27% comes from coal. Is that just over the whole year, or that's every single season, every month, that much?
Yeah, that's over the course of the year. And that number is a little bit old. I should have mentioned that. And it's getting better every year. So as we've passed quite a few pieces of legislation over the last few years that are moving Oregon towards all renewables. So yeah, so I believe in the next couple of years we'll be totally off of coal. That was from a piece of legislation that was passed in, I believe, 2015 or 2016.
Okay.
And then, and then by 2040 we'll be entirely renewable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Am I the only attendee?
Yeah, you are. We are streaming live on YouTube as well, so we may have had some folks watching there.
Good.
Yeah, so, but thank you for joining today.
Thank you for presenting it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shelby, for making me feel like I'm talking as real live humans. It's nice to hear your voice as well.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot as well. To say, I was really interested in the peak hours. I love to gamify something, so I am excited for that and see if I can challenge me. And I have a housemate that shares the house with me. See if we can get our bill down just a little bit.
So that's a good point. And how does that work? I guess I don't really understand that. Yeah.
So are you a PGE customer?
No, Pacific Power.
Okay. So unfortunately, the peak time rebates program is only available for PGE customers.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's not an option available to you, unfortunately. But hopefully, maybe at some point, Pacific Power will start a similar program.
Well, this year I had switched in the fall from oil heat, which I loved, but I felt guilty. And I moved to the heat pump.
Oh, that's great. How do you like it?
I'm surprised how warm it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So it's of course more expensive on the electric bill, but really, I think I saved probably $500 on oil or more this year.
Yeah. Yeah, oil can be really expensive. I feel like people don't think about it quite as much because you don't have to like have that same monthly bill. But yeah, getting oil for the whole season can be quite a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
I'll share that we had a gas furnace that blew last winter, and my landlords installed a heat pump as well, and we've seen just huge savings. It's been extraordinary.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And, lovely even temperature in the house as well. So.
Yes, yeah.
I love to hear that. We're big fans of heat pumps around Cubs, so it's always nice to.
Were really cool. I asked them, did they get rebates and incentives? And I'm sure they did, but they said that they just wanted to get off of natural gas, off of fossil fuels. So
cool. I love that.
There was no program to help any household get off oil. Isn't that odd?
Yeah, they phased those out probably about a decade ago, which is really unfortunate.
Well, yeah. Well, there's probably not that many people on oil heat.
Definitely not a ton, but there definitely are still quite a few older homes in the Portland area that have oil. Yeah.
Charlotte, you also asked about community energy project teaching and online do-it-yourself insulation class. Was that it? So I'm setting them up to do a community solar workshop next month, but at Saturday's in-person event, I'll talk to them about doing an online DIY insulation class as well.
Great. Glad I didn't overpromise. Yeah, definitely their in-person workshops are great. I'm a little biased. I also used to lead those, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shelby.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Great. And Charlotte, I'm going to stop us streaming and stop recording just so we can say farewell. Which is new. We used to just let it drop.